Beijing has presented a new geopolitical challenge to the United States, which is a bit like hosting a party in your backyard without telling you. You hear music coming from the backyard, and when you look out the window, you see your neighbors dancing on your lawn and secretly feeding your dog. When you try to complain, you find out they have already locked your back door. The Wall Street Journal reported that Cuba has reached a secret preliminary agreement with China, allowing China to establish electronic eavesdropping stations on its islands. It's like China saying to Cuba, "We know you're short of money right now. We'll set up a tent in your backyard and play some music. You just act like you didn't see it. We'll keep it a secret from the United States, okay?" Then Cuba responds, "What are you going to build?" China says, "It's just an eavesdropping station, nothing big. It's like a large music festival." Cuba, "A music festival? That sounds great. We love music. What kind of music will you play?" China responds, "Mainly electronic communications from US military bases, you know, that kind of deep electronic music like drone takeoff." Cuba, "It sounds very artistic. Okay, let's do it." And that's how China established a listening facility in Cuba, about 100 miles from Florida. This is so close. The US might say, "We used to be able to see Cuba, now we can hear them. We can hear their music, their conversations, everything. Wait, that's our military electronic communication." It seems like the US needs to start learning sign language to avoid being eavesdropped on. Or they could use old-fashioned smoke signals, so China can only see their communication, but not hear it. This event reminds me of an old saying, history always repeats itself. Cuba was an enemy of the US during the Cold War, when Moscow installed Soviet nuclear weapons on the island, leading to the Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962, widely regarded as the moment when the US and the Soviet Union came closest to a nuclear confrontation. Perhaps history is repeating itself, only this time China is taking over from the Soviet Union. It seems that in this world, nothing is impossible, except for the economic recovery of Cuba. Cuba's economy is suffering from inflation, fuel shortages, agricultural production declines, and cash shortages. So if someone is willing to give them billions of dollars, I believe the Cuban people would be very welcoming. China has actually changed the name of its Family Planning Commission to Promote Childbirth Commission. Does this mean that China's birth policy is about to undergo a radical change? I think this is a good idea. Let's explore this new Promote Childbirth Commission. Imagine the Promote Childbirth Commission. It sounds like a job on a production line. You know what I mean, like a worker next to the assembly line, holding a whip, shouting, "Faster, faster, we need more babies. Time is money, we can't wait." It seems that China's expectations for population growth are so urgent that it is preparing to put mandatory childbirth on the agenda. I'm thinking that they might introduce new regulations that say, if you don't have children, we will give you a fine, or worse, we will cancel your Netflix membership. I can imagine the whole country like a giant baby factory, with everyone trying to produce as much as possible. I can already see the slogans on billboards. "Your country needs you, give birth to the next generation of workers and let our economy continue to grow." And you know what's the most interesting thing? China may introduce policies that incentivize people to have children, such as, have one child and get a free washing machine. Or have 2 children and we'll give you a car. It seems that China may be exploring new policies to encourage more births. But what I want to say is that as long as we can get a free Netflix membership, I think we might consider it. Hello everyone, I am your news anchor Yali, providing you with a one-stop service for China-related news every day. If you have any opinions or ideas about these topics, please feel free to leave a comment in the comment section. We will read and reply to everyone's comments seriously. Democratic and Republican senators and congressmen in the U.S. Congress have called for a ban on Hong Kong Chief Executive Carrie from attending the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation, APEC, summit. U.S. Ambassador to China Terry Branstad said on the 7th that the Chinese government has recently conducted reviews or sanctions against 5 U.S. companies including Micron and Deloitte. This is essentially political and retaliatory behavior that only targets U.S. companies and will not happen to companies from other countries. He said that the U.S. will retaliate and pointed out that the U.S. is restricting U.S. companies from selling advanced semiconductor and other technologies to China to prevent the Chinese military from gaining an advantage. U.S. senators from both parties called on European countries to adopt a coordinated approach to address the threat from China at a hearing on Wednesday. Democratic Senator Jeanne Shaheen of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee said that we must unite with our allies to protect our economy and shared values. Republican Senator Pete Ricketts of the committee believed that policies advocating for stronger diplomatic and economic ties with China were a major misjudgment. British Prime Minister Sunak, who is visiting Washington, watched a baseball game at the Washington Nationals home stadium on June 7. President Biden welcomed Johnson to the White House on Thursday. The two leaders had an in-depth discussion on international cooperation regarding the Ukraine conflict, China, economic security, and the regulation of artificial intelligence. A French parliamentary report has pointed out that Russia and China are interfering in France's internal affairs. A survey conducted by the European Union shows that most European people view China as an important economic partner, even if they believe that the EU's relationship with China has limitations. European people do not buy into the idea proposed by European Commission President von der Leyen to de-risk and engage with China. The EU positions China as a rival, competitor, and partner, but for EU citizens, China is primarily a necessary partner. However, many Europeans do not agree with China's purchase of ports, high-tech companies, or media institutions in their countries. In Germany, 70% of people hold this view, higher than the EU average. The most significant finding of this survey is that French and German respondents have quite negative views of China, with only 31% of French people and 33% of Germans seeing China as a partner, while 50% of Germans and 41% of French people see China as a rival or an enemy. In April, Americans imported more goods from overseas while reducing their reliance on Chinese goods, another sign of a strong U.S. economy this spring. The share of U.S. imports from China has dropped to its lowest level since 2006. In recent years, imports from other Asian countries have grown to meet the normal demand for overseas products. China's exports to the United States fell by 18% in May, a larger decline than in April, and have fallen year-on-year for 10 consecutive months. Exports to ASEAN decreased by 16%, and to the EU by 7%. In terms of products, car exports have increased by 2.2 times, contrasting with exports of mobile phones, clothing, and other products. New York has become the most expensive city for expatriates, according to ECA International's cost of living research for 2023, surpassing Hong Kong to become the most expensive city in the world for expatriates, while skyrocketing rents have also put Singapore in the top 5. Inflation and increased accommodation costs are believed to be the reasons why New York is ranked first, with Geneva and London ranking third and fourth, respectively. Events related to Japan have been postponed or scaled down in China. In Dalian, the visit of the mayor of Kitakyushu, Japan to China was forced to be cancelled. In Beijing, events related to Japan have also been postponed. Panasonic has sold 4 refrigeration and air conditioning equipment companies in China in succession, most recently selling Panasonic Refrigeration in Dalian to Dalian Iceberg Group. This may be due to the cooling of China-Japan relations caused by the mention of the Taiwan issue at the G7 Hiroshima summit. A Chinese researcher has been arrested in South Korea for stealing over 10,000 pieces of advanced medical robot technology documents and transferring them to China. The researcher, a Chinese national in his 40s, was arrested by South Korean police on the 7th for allegedly operating in South Korea and transferring the advanced medical robot technology documents to China. The technology stolen includes core robot-related technology. The researcher was also supported by China's Thousand Talents program, a government program to attract overseas talents. China and India have recently expelled almost all of each other's stationed journalists. China's official media, Global Times, claimed that India first used visas as a weapon. In fact, there have been many cases where Beijing has used journalist visas as a weapon, and the interruption of media exchanges between China and India as a fault on both sides. Indian Foreign Minister Subramanyam Jaishankar said on June 8 that the current stalemate between India and China in the border area does not serve the interests of both sides, and the two countries must find a way to disengage. The China-India border dispute has been going on for nearly 3 years, and there is still no sign of troop withdrawal. The United States, Taiwan, and Japan will share real-time data from naval drones to help Taiwan and its neighboring countries comprehensively and in real-time monitor Chinese naval activities on the first island chain. Taiwanese Foreign Minister Joseph Wu will visit Europe and attend an event with the President of the Czech Republic. Sanmen High School in Kaohsiung, Taiwan recently set up an air gun shooting practice field on campus, where students participate in shooting exercises and simulate flying military aircraft. Officials from the Kaohsiung Education Bureau said that this activity is intended to promote the concept of defending the country and protecting the people. Some students said that through the training, they gained a deeper understanding of national defense. The last governor of Hong Kong, Chris Patten, said that China is a country that does not keep its promises. Beijing wants to see a Hong Kong without Hong Kong people. After the Hong Kong government applied for a ban on the song Glory to Hong Kong, which was associated with the anti-extradition movement, the song's downloads and searches on online platforms have surged recently. As of noon on the 7th, different versions of the song occupied 9 out of the top 10 spots in the Hong Kong song chart on the iTunes platform, and the search and download numbers on Google and YouTube platforms also far exceeded previous levels. Some scholars have said that the Hong Kong government's strong crackdown will only backfire, and the more it tries to ban the song, the more popular it becomes. According to the Wall Street Journal, a former senior executive of ByteDance, the parent company of TikTok, Yintao Yu, stated in a legal document that the company's party committee paid attention to Hong Kong's pro-democracy activists and protesters in 2018. The company visited TikTok's Hong Kong user data, examining their network information, SIM card identification information, IP addresses, communication information, and other data. Users who upload content related to Hong Kong's protests on TikTok will be identified and monitored by the company. A ByteDance spokesperson denied the allegations, calling them unfounded. Thai idol group Bilkin and PP Crit, BKPP, held a fan meeting in Hong Kong on the evening of the 6th. The host of the fan meeting made a statement regarding Taiwan, which led to protests from fans shouting, "China." The host mentioned China, Taiwan, and Hong Kong in the same breath. Dissatisfied fans in the audience shouted that Taiwan is part of China. Chinese cultural figures who dare to speak out have frequently been subjected to unreasonable restrictions by the authorities. Zhang Yihei, a writer who has published sensitive books and was banned by the Chinese Communist Party, has recently been prohibited from leaving the country. After the epidemic, China resumed its 144-hour transit visa-free policy, allowing visitors to stay for up to 6 days without a visa. Some people have chosen this option to save time on visa applications. Singaporean tourism operators have pointed out that some customers have done this after the epidemic, and the policy includes 15 Chinese cities. Is China entering a lost decade? A senior researcher at the U.S. Enterprise Institute for China's Economy wrote in a commentary in Barron's that China's high-speed economic development may have come to an end. China's economic prosperity may have peaked. The non-performing real estate debt of China's 4 major banks has increased by 60%. The Nikkei summarized the financial reports of 32 major Chinese banks listed on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange. As of the end of 2022, the balance of non-performing real estate debt of the 4 major banks increased by 60% compared to the previous year, the highest in the past 10 years, and the situation for local banks is also severe. Vigilance against real estate investment is increasing worldwide. On June 8, China's 4 major state-owned banks responded to the government's request to lower interest rates and lowered a series of deposit product rates. In early May of this year, 3 joint stock banks also collectively lowered deposit rates. In order to catch the last train before the interest rate cut, some young Chinese people have traveled to another city to deposit money, giving rise to a new internet slang term, special forces-style deposit. China's automotive market continued to show signs of recovery in May, with the launch of new models and purchase incentives and encouragement provided by dealers and local governments. The China Association of Automobile Manufacturers stated that in May, the domestic retail market share of domestic brands rose to 50.3%, and domestic brands saw significant growth in the new energy market. A large residential area in Jinan District, Tianjin, has been experiencing road subsidence and building wall cracks since May 31, and a 25-story apartment building has visibly tilted. Over 4,000 residents were evacuated urgently. The national essay topic for the college entrance exam quoted 2 speeches by Xi Jinping, including, "Blowing out someone else's candle will not make yours shine brighter. Blocking someone else's path will not make yours go further," which are related to building a community with a shared future for mankind. Many related comments on Weibo have been filtered, with some saying that the Chinese language essay has been politically influenced. That's today's news recap. We hope you enjoyed it. Remember to like and share, and subscribe to our channel. See you in the next episode. Take care everyone.